language adventurers and dedicated followers of phrases. A huge warm welcome back to another episode of Idiom Insights. I'm Emma, and I'm genuinely thrilled to be back with you, ready to explore 4 more fascinating expressions that add so much color and depth to the English language. It's wonderful to share this learning journey.
And a very cheerful hello from me too. It's Jack, your co-host and enthusiastic explorer of English quirks, back again for Idiom Insights. We're so pleased you've decided to join us. You know, Emma, today's idioms seem particularly philosophical. They touch on acceptance of fate, the nature of hope, the human tendency towards exaggeration, and the important act of reconciliation. It feels like we're not just learning language, but also exploring different attitudes towards life's challenges.
That's a really profound observation, Jack. Idioms often do encapsulate these deeper attitudes and life philosophies. Understanding phrases related to letting go of control, finding hope in darkness, keeping perspective, and repairing relationships helps us not only communicate better, but also understand different ways people approach difficulties. It's about recognizing the underlying message. Is it resignation, optimism, perhaps unnecessary drama, or a move towards peace? These phrases are shortcuts to complex emotional and philosophical stances.
Exactly. Shortcuts to understanding deeper stances. So let's take the scenic route through these shortcuts today. On this thought-provoking episode of Idiom Insights, we're going to carefully investigate these 4 significant idioms. First, accepting outcomes. Let the chips fall where they may. A statement of relinquishing control over consequences. Next, finding hope in hardship. Light at the end of the tunnel. A powerful metaphor for eventual relief. Then, exaggerating problems. Make a mountain out of a molehill. Why do we sometimes magnify minor issues? And finally, repairing relationships. Mend fences. An idiom emphasizing reconciliation and restoration.
A truly compelling mix, Jack, covering acceptance, hope, perspective, and reconciliation. Before we delve into the stoic acceptance implied by letting those chips fall, we'd love to share that quick, customary reminder from your Idiom Insights team. If you find these explorations valuable and want to ensure you catch every episode as soon as it's released, please take just a moment to hit that subscribe or follow button on your favorite podcast provider. It keeps us connected.
Please do. It's the easiest way to stay updated on all things idiomatic with us. And as always, we are incredibly grateful for every like and positive rating. It genuinely helps other keen learners discover Idiom Insights and lets us know that you're enjoying the content we work hard to create. Right, friendly nudges delivered. Emma, let's talk about let the chips fall where they may. It sounds quite fatalistic, doesn't it? Like accepting randomness.
It does have an element of accepting the unpredictable, Jack. When someone decides to let the chips fall where they may, it means they are choosing to proceed with an action or decision based on what they believe is right or necessary without trying to manipulate or control the specific outcome or consequences. They accept that there might be unpredictable results, potentially negative ones, but they are resolved to act anyway and deal with whatever happens afterwards. The chips likely refer originally to wood chips scattering randomly when chopping wood, or perhaps poker chips falling in a game of chance. The point is, their final resting place is out of your direct control once the action, chopping or playing is taken.
So it's about acting on principle or necessity and then facing the consequences, whatever they may be. It implies a certain courage, perhaps, a willingness to stand by your decision even if the outcome is uncertain or potentially difficult. It's the opposite of trying to meticulously manage every possible result or being paralyzed by fear of negative consequences. You do what you have to do or what you believe is right, and accept the fallout. It might be seen in situations where someone makes an honest but unpopular statement, knowing it might cause trouble but feeling compelled to speak the truth. I have to report what I saw and just let the chips fall where they may.
Precisely, Jack. That element of acting on principle despite potential negative fallout is often key. It suggests prioritizing the action itself over controlling its repercussions. It doesn't necessarily mean being careless or reckless, but rather signifies a conscious decision to relinquish control over the specific outcome after taking a justifiable action. it can be quite liberating, in a way, to simply do the right thing and accept that you can't micromanage every consequence that flows from it. It takes a certain strength to adopt that attitude, especially when the stakes feel high.
Strength and perhaps a degree of stoicism. Okay, let's see how this attitude manifests in our Mia and Mark dialogue. Who is taking a stand and accepting the consequences? Exactly, she explicitly uses "let the chips fall where they may" to articulate her decision to act correctly and accept the uncertain, potential.
Mark, I've made a decision about that situation at the volunteer center. You know how I discovered the coordinator has been significantly misrepresenting the donation figures in the official reports?
Yes, the inflated donation numbers. That's a serious issue, Mia. It's essentially dishonest reporting. Have you decided what you're going to do? It's a tricky situation because confronting him could make things very awkward. Maybe even affect your own position there.
I know it could be awkward. And yes, he might react badly towards me. But Mark, I can't just ignore it. It feels fundamentally wrong and it misleads the people who generously donate. I believe I have a responsibility to report it accurately to the Board of Trustees.
Reporting it to the board? Wow, that's a big step. That will definitely cause waves, and the coordinator will almost certainly know it was you who raised it. Are you prepared for the potential fallout? He might try to make things difficult for you afterwards.
I've thought about that, and honestly, yes, I am prepared. It might be unpleasant, and the outcome for me personally is uncertain. But I feel it's the right thing to do for the integrity of the organization. So I'm going to write a formal report to the trustees outlining the discrepancies I found, present the evidence clearly, and then just let the chips fall where they may.
Okay, that takes courage, Mia. Standing by your principles like that and accepting whatever consequences come, I admire that. Just be prepared, but I agree you're doing the right thing. Let me know if you need any support drafting the report.
That's a powerful example of the idiom in action. Mia has decided on a course of action based on principle, reporting dishonesty, despite knowing it carries personal risk.
Negative consequences for herself. It perfectly captures the meaning of acting on conviction and relinquishing control over the specific outcome. Listeners, have you ever been in a situation where you had to let the chips fall where they may?
Now, from accepting uncertain outcomes, let's move to finding certainty amidst difficulty. Our second idiom is the hopeful phrase, light at the end of the tunnel. Jack, this is such a strong visual metaphor for hope, isn't it?
It absolutely is, Emma. It evokes that powerful image of being in a long, dark, perhaps frightening tunnel representing a period of hardship, suffering, or struggle, and then finally seeing a small point of light ahead, signaling the approaching end, relief, and a return to normality or better times. Seeing the light at the end of the tunnel means beginning to see signs of hope, improvement, or the conclusion of a long and difficult period. It signifies that the worst is nearly over and relief is in sight.
Signs of hope and the approaching end. That's precisely it. It's particularly meaningful because it acknowledges the darkness, the difficulty of the tunnel period. It's not denying the struggle, but focusing on the emerging possibility of escape. People might use it when recovering from a long illness. After months of treatment and feeling awful, I'm finally starting to feel my energy return. I can finally see the light at the end of the tunnel. Or during a huge, stressful work project that has dragged on for months. We only have 2 weeks left until the deadline, and the major problems are solved. I feel like we can finally see the light at the end of the tunnel now.
It really encapsulates that feeling of immense relief mixed with hope, doesn't it? The recognition that the ordeal, whatever it was, is nearing its conclusion. It's a phrase that offers comfort not just because it promises an end, but because it validates the struggle endured within the tunnel. It's like saying, your hardship was real, but look, improvement is finally becoming visible. It's a very human need to seek that sign of eventual relief during prolonged difficulty, and this idiom captures that perfectly.
It captures that specific moment when hope becomes tangible, when the end feels achievable, rather than just a distant wish. Let's hear from Mia and Mark. What long difficulty are they finally seeing the end of?
Mia, I just got off the phone with my brother David. You know how difficult the last year has been for him since he was unexpectedly made redundant from his long-term job?
Oh yes, poor David. It hit him really hard, didn't it? He sent out hundreds of job applications and had so many interviews that led nowhere. It must have been incredibly demoralizing for him, especially with his financial worries building up.
Exactly. He's been sounding quite low and stressed every time I've spoken to him for months now. But today, he sounded completely different. Much more optimistic and energetic.
Oh, that's wonderful news. Why the change? Did he finally get a promising job offer?
2, Mia. He got 2 promising job offers this week. One is very similar to his old role, and the other is in a slightly different field but sounds really interesting and potentially more secure long-term. He hasn't decided which one to accept yet, but after nearly a year of rejections and uncertainty, he said it finally feels like things are turning around.
2 offers. Oh, that's absolutely fantastic news for him. After such a long period of stress and unemployment, that must feel amazing.
He said exactly that. He told me, "Mark, after feeling stuck in such a dark place for so long, getting these 2 offers this week, I finally feel like I can see the light at the end of the tunnel." He sounded genuinely hopeful for the first time in ages.
What wonderful news for David after such a tough time. That dialogue perfectly illustrates the idiom's meaning. The tunnel was his long period of unemployment and worry.
Absolutely. The 2 job offers represent the first real sign of improvement and the approaching end to his difficult situation. Mark quotes David using light at the end of the tunnel to express that emerging sense of hope and relief after prolonged hardship. It's a classic use of the phrase. Listeners of Idiom Insights, what gives you hope or helps you see the light at the end of the tunnel during difficult times?
Now, from seeing light to perhaps exaggerating shadows. Our third idiom today is make a mountain out of a molehill. Emma, this uses fantastic visual contrast to describe a common human failing, doesn't it?
It certainly does, Jack. The image is immediate and clear. A molehill is a tiny, insignificant mound of earth created by a mole, while a mountain is huge and imposing. To make a mountain out of a molehill means to greatly exaggerate the importance or seriousness of a very minor problem, difficulty, or issue. It means treating something trivial as if it were a major crisis, making a big fuss, or creating unnecessary drama over something insignificant. It criticizes someone for lacking perspective and overreacting.
Lacking perspective and overreacting? That's the core criticism. It suggests the person's reaction is completely disproportionate to the actual scale of the problem. Someone might make a mountain out of a molehill if they get incredibly angry and complain for ages because someone was 2 minutes late for a casual coffee meeting. Or if a person treats a tiny, easily fixable scratch on their car as a major catastrophe, talking about it constantly and getting extremely upset. The idiom highlights the absurdity of assigning massive significance to a genuinely small issue. Why do you think people do it, Emma? Anxiety? A need for drama?
It could be a combination of factors, Jack. Sometimes it definitely stems from anxiety. Anxious people may catastrophize minor setbacks. Sometimes, perhaps, people enjoy the attention that drama brings. Other times, it might be a tactic, exaggerating a minor issue to manipulate a situation or gain sympathy. And sometimes, people just temporarily lose perspective, especially if they are already stressed about other things. A small problem becomes the last straw. But whatever the reason, the idiom itself focuses on describing that behavior, the act of blowing a trivial matter completely out of proportion. It's a gentle, or sometimes not so gentle way, of telling someone to calm down and regain perspective.
Regain perspective. That's often the implicit advice. Stop making such a big deal out of this tiny thing. Let's listen to Mia and Mark, who is potentially exaggerating a minor issue.
Mark, are you still stewing about what happened at the supermarket checkout earlier? You've been completely silent and looking grumpy ever since we got back.
Stewing? No, I'm just annoyed. Did you see how that checkout assistant scanned the beans twice? I pointed it out, and she had to call the supervisor over to void the transaction and start again. It held up the whole queue for about 5 minutes. It was so inefficient and embarrassing.
Mark, darling, it was a simple mistake. She scanned one item twice by accident. Yes, it took a few minutes to correct with the supervisor, but it was hardly a major disaster. It was a tiny error, quickly fixed, and cost us maybe 5 minutes maximum. The supervisor apologized profusely too.
But it shouldn't have happened. It wasted our time. It shows carelessness. What if I hadn't noticed the double scan? We would have been overcharged.
But you did notice, and it was corrected instantly, and we weren't overcharged. Honestly, Mark, while it was a minor annoyance, aren't you kind of making a mountain out of a molehill by letting it ruin your mood for the past hour? It was just a small checkout error, not a global crisis.
Well, maybe. When you put it like that, perhaps 5 minutes isn't worth getting this worked up about. Okay, you're right. I was making a mountain out of a molehill. Sorry for being grumpy.
That's a classic example of losing perspective over a minor inconvenience. Mark clearly exaggerated the significance of the small checkout error.
Absolutely. Mia gently challenges his overreaction, explicitly accusing him of making a mountain out of a molehill. Mark, upon reflection, concedes that his reaction was disproportionate to the trivial event. It perfectly illustrates the idiom's meaning of exaggerating a small problem. Listeners, do you ever catch yourself making mountains out of molehills?
And finally, let's turn to the act of reconciliation with our last idiom. Mend fences. Jack, like batten down the hatches, this feels like a practical action with a deeper metaphorical meaning.
It does indeed, Emma. Literally, mending fences involves repairing the physical boundary between two properties, often requiring cooperation or at least communication between neighbors. Metaphorically, therefore, to mend fences means to repair a damaged relationship, resolve a disagreement, or restore friendly relations with someone after a period of conflict, argument, or estrangement. It implies taking positive action to fix the breaks in the relationship and reestablish goodwill. It focuses on the act of reconciliation and repair.
Taking positive action to repair the relationship, that's key. It's not just about letting time heal things or ignoring the problem. It's about actively doing something to bridge the gap caused by the disagreement. This might involve apologizing, reaching out to the other person, having a calm discussion to resolve misunderstandings, or making a gesture of goodwill. For example, after a bitter argument with a sibling, one might decide it's time to mend fences and call them to apologize and talk things through. Or two colleagues who had a professional falling out might try to mend fences by having a coffee together and agreeing to communicate better in the future.
Exactly. It requires effort and intention from at least one party, often both. It's about rebuilding the connection that was damaged, unlike letting bygones be bygones or water under the bridge, which focus on leaving the past issue behind. Mending fences often implies a more active process of repair and reconciliation needed because of the past issue. It acknowledges the break and focuses on the steps needed to fix it. It's fundamentally about restoring harmony where there was discord.
Restoring harmony through active effort. A very important social skill. Let's hear Mia and Mark's final conversation. Who is trying to repair a damaged relationship?
Mark, I did something quite brave today, I think. Remember how I had that big falling out with my old college friend, Lisa, about 6 months ago? We haven't spoken since.
Oh yes, the argument about that concert ticket money? It got quite heated, didn't it? You were both really upset with each other afterwards. That's a shame. You and Lisa used to be so close.
Exactly. And I've really missed her friendship. We shared so much over the years. The argument itself seems so silly in hindsight, honestly. We both probably said things we regretted.
So, what did you do today that was brave?
Well, I decided it was time to stop being stubborn and perhaps try to fix things. I felt nervous, but I picked up the phone and called her.
You called Lisa? After 6 months of silence? Wow! How did she react? Was it awkward?
It was a little awkward at first, yes, but I just started by saying I'd been thinking about her. I missed her friendship, and I was really sorry about the argument and how things ended between us. I said I'd really like to try and mend fences.
And what did she say to that?
She was quiet for a moment. Then she said she'd missed me too, and she was sorry as well. We ended up talking for nearly an hour, clearing the air properly. We've arranged to meet for coffee next week. It feels so much better now that we're trying to mend fences. That silence was awful.
That's a really positive outcome and a great example of the idiom. The relationship was clearly damaged, broken fence, and Mia took the initiative to repair it.
Precisely. She explicitly states her intention was to mend fences, signifying her active effort to resolve the past conflict and restore the friendship. Her call and apology were the actions taken to achieve this reconciliation. It perfectly captures the meaning of actively repairing a damaged relationship. Listeners of Idiom Insights, do you think it's always possible to mend fences?
And with that hopeful thought on reconciliation, we conclude our exploration for this episode of Idiom Insights. 4 more common and meaningful phrases added to our understanding. Let's quickly recap them.
Another truly insightful discussion. Today on Idiom Insights, we examined, let the chips fall where they may, to accept the consequences of an action without trying to control the outcome. Light at the end of the tunnel, a sign of hope or improvement after a long period of difficulty. Make a mountain out of a molehill, to exaggerate the importance of a minor problem. Mend fences, to repair a damaged relationship or restore friendly relations after a disagreement.
Wonderful. We sincerely hope that our extended conversations today Exploring the contexts, nuances, and feelings behind these idioms have helped you feel more confident and comfortable with them. Remember, understanding idioms deeply is a fantastic step towards true fluency.
Absolutely. Keep listening, keep noticing, keep questioning the meanings. And if you found today's episode of Idiom Insights helpful and engaging, we would be so grateful if you could take a moment to leave us a like, a rating, or even a short positive review. It helps us enormously.
And please make sure you are subscribed or following Idiom Insights. It's the easiest way to ensure you join us for every new episode as we continue to delve into the rich, surprising, and wonderful world of English idioms together. We love having you here.
We really do appreciate your time and attention. Until next time, keep up your fantastic language learning journey, stay curious, and enjoy the process. Goodbye for now.
Bye, everyone. Take care, be well, and maybe try mending a fence if one needs it. Happy learning.